Exactly. What we've seen here over the many, many decades is that the police who, back in the day, just trying to do their job to protect and serve the public, were indoctrinated within their school system, were retrained in order to see all of us as the enemy. This has backfired primarily, I think, in our communities today and has given us a less than happy feeling about our police. But it seems that just didn't work. They couldn't continue doing that. Too many good police officers were saying no to this form of indoctrination, and now I believe they've got the replacement in a national police force, as you mentioned.
Exactly. You're too young to remember this. In the old days, well, you said you remember the cop on the beat in your youth. That's the way it used to be. It used to be the cops were in the communities that they served. They lived in the communities that they served. It wasn't until the liberals began to say, why don't we just save some money here? We could spend it on social programs and just have the cops respond to calls, emergency calls. Let's put them in cars. Let's hire them from outside the city. All of this happened, and what happened was you had a siege mentality. And then they turn around, they start militarizing the police. They go into drug houses using dirty bombs and what have you. And it gets to the point where you have this us versus them mentality instilled in local law enforcement, and so that they're hopefully, the hope was they would be more open to the feds coming in and being part of policing within the community.
Yeah, you said it, and just to remind my listeners, I'm with Jim Kouri, who's Vice President of the National Association of Chiefs of Police. I mean, how many people in your organization agree with you?
Oh, a lot. For example, our organization, we tend to be more conservative than some of the other police organizations. In fact, we got into a big brouhaha with CNN. They ran a negative story on us because our president at that time, he had gone to Hawaii to an NRA conference. And he said, and I'll quote him, he said, real cops support gun owners. And CNN did a whole smear campaign on him, the organization. They said that we were ultra-conservatives, right-wing fanatics, that we only represented small police departments in the South and in the heartland. Well, it is true. Most of our members are small-town police chiefs because the other organizations seem to be focused on cities like New York and Los Angeles and
Chicago,
and everywhere else where they have
San
these
Francisco.
liberal policies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to be promoted within the ranks, generally, don't you have to go along? You call them liberal policies. That's okay if you're calling George Bush a liberal because he did the same thing. But
he was not a conservative.
No.
And
he wasn't from Texas either, as we know. Yeah. But, I mean, I think it puts a lot of pressure on our police, number one, to be concerned about this. And number two, I mean, any rational person understands that men cannot be trusted with guns. That's why everyone should have them.
That is an excellent point, and that's a point that many within our organization believe. We were the only organization that received a special gift from the National Rifle Association in Texas. They presented us with a replica of supposedly Elliot Ness's Thompson submachine gun. It was a beautiful commemorative machine gun, Thompson submachine gun, and we've been under attack by the media ever since that day because they have this formula where police and private citizens are at odds over guns.
Well, I got off the path a little bit. I meant to ask you the question, Jim, that, if you don't go along with all this federal mandating and federal training of our local police officers, they feel, you're not going to get promoted. And this is kind of how all of society works in this kind of pyramid here that we see is if you want to be successful, you got to shut up and just go along with the program. I mean, do you see that yourself?
Oh, sure. In private, police chiefs, and I'm talking about, city police chiefs, small-town police chiefs, they say things that are different from what they say in public because they have to report to a city manager or a police commissioner, which is a civilian position. The police commissioner is not a cop. Or they have to report to the mayor. They report directly to the mayor. And they have to toe the line because they'll be replaced. We have tried as an organization to come up with a contract situation where police chiefs are contracted so that they don't have to fear losing their job. And if they do lose their job, the city or municipality has to pay out the contract the way they do for a professional athlete. And they've been fighting us on that.
Have you heard of Oath Keepers? Are you familiar with them, Jim?
Yeah, the Oath Keepers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a step in the right direction, as well as a good friend of mine is Jack McClam, who is a highly decorated police officer from Phoenix. He has a group called Police and Military Against the New World Order, taking seriously their oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Meanwhile, years ago, I saw a video of police, I believe in Arizona, being trained to accost people who are carrying around constitutions as if they're somehow terrorists by having a constitution.
Oh, sure. There are stories that I've heard. There was one in, I believe it was Oregon, where the leader of a group, they were opposed to the war in Iraq, not for the same reason that the left was opposed. They just did not feel that we should have our soldiers over there. They should be on our own border.
Yeah.
And they were harassed by police. And, the problem was that even within the police department of that community, there was dissension between the police officers because some actually supported this group and some were opposed to the group. And I think you're going to find that more and more within police departments. So, and that kind of scares me because now police chiefs are going to start looking at the politics of it. Before a guy goes into the academy, they're going to want to know more information about his political background.
No, and that is pervasive in really all of society. Going back to the comment you just made about the left anti-war types, I'm sure it's not news to you, Jim, that they don't oppose the war anymore under Barack Obama.
No, they don't. The right, and I hate to always put people in little boxes.
No, you're doing it just to communicate. I understand.
Yeah. But the reason they opposed the war in Iraq was because they felt that Iraq was not a threat to the United States, and that we could better use our resources to protect our own borders. Here we are, talking about how are we going to protect the border of Afghanistan with Pakistan, and yet we have violence going on at our own border, and our Homeland Security Secretary is oblivious to it, or she pretends to be oblivious to it.
Well, no, she thinks they're all terrorists coming back home, our veterans who are put in an impossible position. And this is the same position she had during the Clinton administration. I mean, nothing has changed. In fact, it's patently obvious that the entire Clinton administration came in here with cousin Barry Obama. And we call him that because he's cousins with Dick Cheney, but not that anyone cares about that. It just seems that we were promised all this change. Every 4 to 8 years we're promised change, and we just keep steamrolling ahead here. And this whole controversy that you're talking about, Obama's disdain for blue and Professor Gates, really speaks to that. And I think one of the biggest problems, Jim, here is that in the police report, which I'm going with the version of that the police report was pretty accurate. We had an African American on the scene. We had a Hispanic on the scene. I don't believe it was racism at all. I believe that Professor Gates had this sense of entitlement, this elitism, that where he thought he was above the law and above these Cambridge police officers. The problem is that so many of these wayward policemen around the country have falsified police reports. In fact, it's even happened to me, Jim, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people have lost faith in the testimony of our police.
Oh, sure. Last week, was it last week? July 20th, I believe, was the 45th anniversary or 40th anniversary of Chappaquiddick.
Let's go there when we come back. I got to go to break. We'll pick up there, folks. Teddy Kennedy, the 40th anniversary. And take him down. We'll be right back after this. Our guest today, Jim Kouri, Vice President, National Association of Chiefs of Police. Stay tuned.